Now, when I was a boy, I had the pleasure of spending several summers on a farm. Those were glorious times. Me and the other boys on the farm would get up at dawn and we would do whatever chores the grown-ups forced us to do. And then after that, the rest of the day was ours to play. We always pretended to be pirates. And I always dreamed that if I lived and God was kind to me, that someday I would become a pirate. Every day on the farm ended the same way. We'd sit around a blazing campfire. Now it must be remembered that this campfire was only about 20 steps from the deep forest. There were bears and wolves in that forest. We had seen them during the day. So we imagined if we took one step away from that fire, a bear or a wolf would grab us and take us into the woods with them. Now, the best storyteller was a man we called Uncle Dan'l. He was an adult slave, probably the greatest storyteller I ever listened to. And Uncle Dan'l would always tell the last story of the night. And I'll never forget the night that he ended our evening telling the story of the golden arm. And he told it something like this. There was once a girl growing up on a farm. It was an ideal childhood. Her parents loved her to no end. But one day, there was an accident on the farm, and the little girl had her left arm cut off at the shoulder. Her father blamed himself. He did the best he could. He had a special golden arm made for her and attached to her shoulder. But when she grew up, tragically, she married a man who in no way was a husband to her. He abused her in every way that a man can abuse a wife. Finally, perhaps mercifully, she died. They had no close neighbors, no friends, and no living relatives. So the man dragged his wife across the snow into the woods behind the house. He wiped away enough snow to be able to dig a shallow grave. And when that was done, he pulled his wife into the grave. And then he looked down at her. And in one more horrific act, he snatched the golden arm off her body and then finished the burial. He took the golden arm back to the house, planning to sell it at a later date. And that night, he laid in bed, reading a book by candlelight with one window open. As he lay there that night, he heard a noise, a creaking noise from downstairs, the sound of footsteps. How could it be? There was no one near the house. And then he heard a voice. The voice said, "Who stole my golden arm?" And now he listened. He closed the book. And he listened. Now he heard footsteps coming up the stairs toward the bedroom. And when the steps got halfway up, he heard again, "Who stole my golden arm?" The steps came closer. Finally, the person was on the landing. And suddenly, the window slammed shut and the candle went out. And now he was in absolute darkness. He couldn't see his hand in front of his face. And he heard the brass doorknob turn. And he heard the door slowly creak open. And then he heard a step inside the room. And he heard again, "Who stole my golden arm?" Now he pressed himself up against the backboard, trying to get away, but there was no escape. And he heard the steps come closer and closer and closer. Now he could feel the hot breath of someone right in his face. And he heard a voice say, "Who stole my golden arm?" "It was you!" Then Uncle Daniel would sweep his forefinger around the fire and he would say, "Now go to bed." And I can remember laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, afraid to close my eyes, thinking about the golden arm. And I would still be staring at the ceiling at the break of dawn.